Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome. Yeah, echo.
Yeah, you can please go ahead, Jasmine. We are live now.
Yeah, okay. We thank you all for attending our webinar today on the Indian construction sector. I'm Jasmine Kaur, and on behalf of CARE Ratings, welcome you to our today's webinar on construction sector, and sincerely appreciate your time in joining us for the webinar. With us today, we have an eminent guest speaker, Mr. Shobhit Uppal, who is the Deputy Managing Director of Ahluwalia Contracts India Limited. Mr. Uppal has an extensive experience of around 3 decades in the construction industry. He has in the past also served as the President of Indian Building Congress. He was honored by ET Now as one of the most influential leaders of the industry last year. Mr. Uppal, a very warm welcome to the CARE Ratings webinar today. Briefly introducing members from CARE. Again, my name is Jasmine Kaur. I am an Associate Director at CARE Ratings, having a total experience of 15 plus years in credit risk. I look after construction sector ratings in CARE. With me is my colleague, Mr. Naresh Golani. He is an Associate Director at CARE Ratings, having a total experience of also 15 plus years in corporate and credit risk. Naresh also looks after construction sector ratings in CARE. The theme for today's webinar is to give an overview of the construction sector amidst the concerns of the COVID-19 pandemic, the pace of recovery across various segments, the new order inflows, and the revenue visibility going forward. As we know, the government has also supported the sector in various ways through its announcements under the Atmanirbhar package. As we go along this webinar, we will be touching on the various aspects, as well as the on-the-ground implementation of these government-sponsored support schemes. We have analyzed primary data of some top investment-grade companies that operate across the different segments of the industry, such as roads, buildings, irrigation, urban infrastructure, etc. So as to understand the impact of that these companies suffered due to the pandemic. And now, how are these companies ramping up their operations, and how are these companies coping up amidst this situation? We will start with a presentation of about 30 to 35 minutes, followed by a discussion with our guest speaker. Thereafter, we will have a question and answer session from the audience. In case you have any queries, please do key in your queries in the chat box, which we will be taking towards the end. Now to start with the presentation, the outline which I briefly told you, we'll start with a sector overview, impact of the pandemic on the sector. We will also tell you the rating transition in CARE that has happened as a result of the pandemic over these last 8-9 months. The extent and pace of recovery across the sector as we see today, the relief measures announced and their implementation, order book visibility of the various players, various segments, and the CARE's rating dispersion, and finally the sector outlook from our side. Briefly, the overview, we all know construction is the second largest economic activity after agriculture, contributing to around 8% of the GDP. It is one of the largest employers of the workforce in the country. We saw a contraction in the construction industry by 50% year on year during Q1 FY21, which was as a result of the lockdown, which was announced by the government, and which led to the reverse migration of labor. As per CARE's estimates today, GDP is expected to contract by 8.2% in FY21. Which could lead to an impact on the players of the industry in terms of the funding that may be required for the order execution. But we also do see a lot of thrust of the government in investment in infrastructure in order to boost the economy going forward, which we are going to see in the slides as they go by. So what do we see as the main growth drivers in construction going forward? The national infrastructure pipeline is going to be the primary growth driver for the construction sector. The planned investments under the NIP are 111 lakh crores. There would be 6,500 projects, and this would span between a period of FY20 to 25. This number, when we put that in perspective with the kind of investment that has happened in the last 5 years from FY15 to 19, which were 45 lakh crores, the government is planning to invest more than double of the amount which it spent in the last 5 years. So this definitely is going to give a boost to the construction sector. The opportunities that will emanate from the NIP for the sector will actually come from these subsectors. If you look at roads, urban infra, ports and airports, irrigation, social infra, rural infra, these all contribute to 53% of the total NIP, which is about 55 lakh crore of investment, which is going to happen up to FY25. And this is going to lead to several opportunities, large opportunities that will come to the sector players. Going to the next slide. This is actually just a continuation of the previous slide where we have just tried to break down the NIP into year-wise year outlay, and we have also put the actual numbers, FY18 and 19 actual numbers, to show to give a comparison between the investments that have actually happened in the past and how the outlay is coming for the next 5 years. Looking at roads, 1.9 lakh crores on a year-on-year annual basis, 1.9 lakh crores in 18 and 19 each year. The expectation now is an increase to 3.8 lakh crores in FY21, 3.6 lakh crores in FY22. Well, there are definitely hiccups because of the pandemic in terms of achievability of this, but there is a large thrust, and it is a front-ended thrust that the government is putting in these various subsectors, and we see a similar kind of a trend in irrigation, urban infra also. Large investments in the initial part of the plan, so that there are some tangible outputs which would be visible by the time the NIP comes to its conclusion. Going to the next slide. Now this is actually the actual highway construction rate which has happened in the first 6 months of FY21, and we've put a comparison of the current year with the previous year. The orange bar in the first graph are actually the first 6 months of FY20, and the red bars are the first 6 months of FY21 current year. The first graph shows us the actual highway construction in kilometers which happened in this year compared to last year on a month-on-month basis. April, definitely there was a dip in the highway construction, but as we see going forward, in May, June, July, August, and September, there is a satisfactory ramp up in terms of the construction activity that we are seeing. And if you look at the combined 6-month picture, what was 4,600 kilometers constructed last year is now about 4,000 kilometers constructed. So, I mean, we are trying to see the pace of recovery which is happening, where in the beginning of the year, what we thought was going to be looking very bleak for the first 6 months. The second graph is the construction awards that have come. In 2019, in terms of awards, 2,100 kilometers in the first 6 months were awarded. And this year, first 6 months, about 5,000 kilometers awarded, which is a substantial jump of 140%. And we also know that there are tenders opened by NHAI, which is worth almost 47,000 crores, which are open as of now, which would be awarded in the next balance 6 months of the year and beginning part of the next financial year. Going to the next slide. Now, these are the road projects which are announced by the central government, the state government, and local bodies in the private sector. Here we see a significant decline actually. As far as the state governments are concerned, we can see the first graph talks about the number of projects that have come out. And there's about a 30% decline in the number of projects that have been awarded by the state governments in this first half versus the previous first half. And in terms of the cost, the value of those projects, there is a decline of 32% by the state governments this year compared to the previous half year. Well, this could be because of constraints that the state governments have faced in terms of their finances. But we expect that for the rest part of the year, there will be a step up in the spending by the state governments as well. But as we stand today, we see a substantial decline as far as the state government's expenditure is concerned, which typically forms a large part of the infrastructure spend in the country. In the next slide, so we actually saw the budgets of the states, and these are the bigger states which typically spend much more in infra. And we have seen that while their budgets of FY21 actually showed a substantial jump from FY20 levels, and therefore we believe that the balance part of the year we may see activity coming from states as well. So in these subsectors, transportation, irrigation and water, sanitation and housing, particularly some of the states that stand out. I mean, if you look at transportation, Telangana, 114% jump in their budget compared to the previous year. Andhra Pradesh, 193% jump. Similarly, if you look at irrigation, again, Karnataka plans to spend much more, and Andhra Pradesh, again, substantial jump. And in water, sanitation and housing, UP, Maharashtra, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Rajasthan. So there's a substantial increase in the budget outlays, budget allocations, so to say, for FY21 compared to the previous year. This, of course, would be subject to state finances. Now from here on, this was a overview, and this was also as we stand today, how we are seeing the spend coming in some of the sectors. But from here on, we want to tell you the impact of COVID, particularly on subsegments, and particularly how the recovery has happened in these subsegments. And this section is going to be taken up by Naresh. So I request Naresh to please take up the rest of the presentation.
Yeah. Thank you, Jasmine. So from this slide onwards, we'll cover up, what has been the impact of COVID-19 on some of these subsectors and across the rating bands, and how has been the pace of recovery, till maybe by October or November. As an indicator to how the performance of the companies are, the rating migration that has happened over the last 8 to 9 months, we have seen around 11% of the entities getting downgraded, and some of the entities there has been a revision or a downward revision in the outlook, in a way reflecting their liquidity that could have been already stressed, or in terms of this times those entities which already had high gearing or stressed liquidity, those particularly have been downgraded, or there has been a revision in the outlook. Some of the entities have been upgraded during this time also, mainly because of their strong performance over the last 2 to 3 years, and because of the fact that their liquidity was quite adequate and they were quite lowly geared. So the impact of a pandemic is minimal to these entities, and some of these entities have been upgraded also. But largely, if you see around 26% of the entities, there is a negative thing towards the rating transition, including the downgrade as well as the downward revision in outlook. So the COVID impact study, we have done a primary data assessment of top investment grade entities that we have at CARE, and these have been classified into various subsectors that we had mentioned earlier. It's buildings, roads, bridges, irrigation, pipeline, drainage, heavy infrastructure, and we have tried to gauge the impact across rating bands and across the various subsectors. So First, we cover up, how has been the impact of revenue on these entities. Most of the entities, as it is evident, has witnessed dip in turnover in H1 FY21 because of the obvious reasons of lockdown, restriction of operations, and the reverse migration of labor. That has been quite ubiquitous, and it has been, in H1 FY21, there has been a decline in turnover to the extent of around 25%, and that has been seen across the rating bands. And the achievement that has been there in terms of execution in H1 FY21, that has been close to around 30% of their projected turnover for FY21. So in a way, overall for full FY21, we expect that the overall revenue could be impacted to the range of around 20 to 25% year on year. Moving to profitability, profitability with lower execution in H1 FY21 has been impacted because of lower absorption of fixed cost. Some of the companies have borne the cost of remigration of the labor also for ramping up their operations, so that has dented a bit of their profitability during that time. And overall, the PBIT margin, has dipped in the range of around 150 to 170 basis point across all the investment rating bands. Overall, for full FY21, we expect that there could be a dip in PBIT margin to the extent of around 150 to 200 basis points year on year. That is vis-a-vis the last year. The bit of status on the moratorium which has been availed by these entities. Around 50% of the investment grade entities that we have studied had availed moratorium, and almost all the companies in the sub-investment grade have opted for moratorium. While those entities in the investment grade, those who have opted for moratorium, there are quite a few categories. Some of them have availed moratorium only for the first tranche. Some of them have availed just, even despite having liquidity, they have availed just because of the uncertainty that was prevailing at that point of time. So only first tranche, many of them have availed, and some of the entities have availed only to the extent of few facilities like some equipment loans or some term loans or maybe some working capital facilities. But that there has been a mix. But then largely investment grade entities have opted lesser for moratorium, and some of them, those who have opted, is mainly because of being a bit conservative on the liquidity side. So in this slide, we'll cover how has been the site preparedness. This is across rating bands. So what we have studied is how many sites are now operational pre-COVID as well as the current situation, and what is the labor availability across the operational sites. So in the AA brand, the sites that were already there pre-COVID, all of those sites have become operational 100%, and the labor availability on these sites is close to around 90%. In the A band, the operational sites are around 93%, and the labor availability is at around 83%. In the BBB band, it is 98%, and labor availability is 91%. So on an average, 97% of the sites of investment grade entities have become operational in the current month, maybe by October end or November, and the labor availability has touched to 87% compared to the pre-COVID level. So the labor availability is still lower, mainly because of partial remigration of labor at site, and there is the enhanced safety protocols that has also restricted the ramp up in the labor availability. Again, the site preparedness across the segment. So if we see all those segments, buildings, we see labor availability is at around 85% on an average. Heavy infrastructure, largely concentrated in urban centers, the labor availability is lower at around 67%. Irrigation, it has touched around 82%. Majority part of irrigation works would happen in the S2, as also for pipeline and drainages. A large part of pipeline and drainages are in the urban centers, so labor availability is at 71%. Roads, we see a major part of these roads are into rural areas. There the labor availability is pretty high at around 93%. Again, if we compare rural versus urban sites, on an average, urban sites, the labor availability is at 88% across all the subsegments, and rural side it's higher at around 94%. You're going by the current circumstances, site preparedness would be better in rural, and the prospects for rural site also continues to be better. So the EOT status, extension of time. So across all the subsectors, if we see, around 59% of the projects have received extension of time from their respective counterparties, whether be it government bodies or the private bodies. Around 60% have already received the extension. Around 23% have applied, but then still the extension is yet to be received. So most of the projects, if we see, those have achieved the extension of time. Some of the projects that were in early stages, the companies have not opted for the moratorium. EOTs and roads and bridges, particularly, is mainly because of timely and clear directives by MoRTH and NHAI. And in the private counterparty, it is always based on the mutual consent. But majority of the sites, they have availed, they have received rather the extension of time. In this slide, we'll touch upon how has been the liquidity of these entities. I'll take you through the how to read this graph. This, if you see the first two bars, less than 50%. The percentage of entities that has less than 50% of fund-based working capital utilization was around 30-35%, but that has ramped up to more than 45%. So the entities which had fund-based limits utilization of less than 50% has increased, and that has been largely contributed by the higher buckets. Like if you see 80 to last bar, 80 to 100%, the current number of entities that are availing fund-based limits to the extent of 80 to 100%, that has come down from the pre-COVID levels. So that has resulted into higher shifting into the lower percentage buckets. Right. So liquidity, in a way, we are saying in most of the entities has improved, mainly because of moratorium, because of timely release of funds from government bodies, specifically MoRTH, lower execution, and realization of debtors which had been built in largely in H2 of FY20 or Q4 of FY20. Liquidity again, segment-wise here, if we see roads and bridges, it was less than 50%, was 43% earlier. It is 52% now. Buildings have also improved a bit from 25 to 27%. So in a way, we are saying across rating bands or across the subsegments, because of the common factors of moratorium, lower execution, debtor realization, liquidity has improved in most of the entities. And some of the entities that we had studied, they had dipped into their free cash reserves that they had pre-COVID levels to meet their OPEX and debt obligations. So even there also the fund-based working capital utilizations have not increased. So after liquidity, we'll touch upon how has been the level of debtors. This is September 2020 debtors vis-a-vis March 2020. So if you see roads and bridges, around 62% of the entities, 62% of the entities had lower debtors as compared to March in September. In buildings, around 80% of the entities had debtors which are lower as compared to March. In heavy infrastructure, most of the entities had debtors which were lower as compared to the March level figures. And irrigation, some of the entities have lower, and some are maybe stagnant at same level or has marginally gone down because of some higher amount of retention money that has continued to remain. And in irrigation, largely the execution and the collections will happen in the later part of the year. So here there is a bit of reflection there. So after this, now we'll be looking up, how has been the revenue visibility or the order book of these entities that we have studied. We have four bars. The first one is for FY18. So it is order book to total operating income. So what is the live orders those entities have vis-a-vis the top line that they have in that particular year. So if you see last 3 years, 19, 20, and the present H1, the revenue visibility is quite intact, or it's marginally improved in H1 because of the execution in H2. Maybe we can say these are marginally better or close to the figures that we had in the previous year because of the higher amount of awards that have happened specifically from government agencies, central agencies. Again, the revenue visibility here across subsegments, if we see buildings, it is in line with the aggregates. Irrigation, again, roads and buildings in line with aggregates, and so also for pipeline drainage and heavy infrastructure. So revenue visibility continues to remain intact or slightly better vis-a-vis the previous time. This is also, in congruence to the slide if we had seen previous that in the NIP large part of capex are front loaded in FY21 and 22. So here also there is a reflection of that. So now coming to the some of the relief measures that has been announced under the Atmanirbhar Bharat package, just a glimpse of the list of what these measures are and how these measures have improved the liquidity of those entities. So this is a list. Mainly the payment terms have been shifted from most of these milestone to monthly payments. That has resulted into quick realization of the funds. There is no deduction of retention money in further billing. So higher amount of funds flow into the contractors. Retention money to the extent of project progress are to be released. Extension of up to 6 months for the projects that were regular as on February 2020. And relief measures, there was a press release that relief measures that now been extended till December 2020. March again, they have released close to around 10,000 crores and around 2,500 crores is under process. And bidding criteria on turnover and technical capability has been relaxed to bring in more and more smaller or marginal players. Again, performance security has been reduced from 5 to 10% to 3%, and additional security for those contracts where the bids were abnormally low, the additional security has been waived, and bid security has been replaced with declaration. This slide is a dispersion of the care rated entities, including the investment grade as well as sub-investment grade. Largely, a bell-shaped curve. Large part of entities clustered in BB, mainly because of the fragmented nature of the industry. There are quite a number of small and marginal players which are into a single segment or into a single geography that are dominant in the BB bracket, around 50%. Good number, around 21% are in the investment grade. Again 8%, 1.4% in the higher investment grades, and so also in the below investment grade categories. So to summarize what we have seen in all these previous slides, the impact of revenue in FY21 we expect close to around 20-25%. Impact on PBIT margin close to 150 to 200 basis points. Liquidity, as we saw, has eased in H1 mainly because of moratorium, lower execution, realization of debtors, and the relief measures announced under the Atmanirbhar Bharat package. Extension of time has been received in most of the projects, as we saw around 60% have already received. Increase in operational sites we saw across rating bands and subsectors. Labor force around 87% have ramped up. We again saw that the prospects of rural sites are better as compared to the urban ones. Successful ramp up obviously for the H2 FY21. Successful ramp up of the operations in terms of execution will remain crucial for achieving their FY21 projected top lines. And any other major lockdowns, mainly in the urban centers, might impact the performance of those sites which are located in the urban areas. So this brings us to the end of the presentation. I would now request my colleague Jasmine to take this forward.
Thank you, Naresh. Thanks for sharing these findings with us. Shobhit sir, we'll turn to you now. Sir, are you on unmute mode?
Can you hear me now? Yeah,
sir. Yes, can hear you. Sir, thank you again for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. First of all, sorry for interjecting, but I must compliment you guys for preparing an excellent presentation. It has covered most of the points that this sector has faced over the last 6-7 months or in this financial year. So my compliments once again.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot. So, sir, you saw, these, we collected data from our rated entities, and we tried to find out that, where they are in terms of site preparedness, in terms of labor availability, in terms of, what kind of order book that they have. So you are a significant player in the building construction segment, and you have been through the lockdown, and you recovered from there as well. So, sir, from a practitioner's perspective, sir, we want to hear from you that how are things looking now? Actually, in the beginning of the year, we pretty much thought that we are going to be losing the first 6 months. The first 3 months will go in the lockdown. The next 3 months in the monsoon. And we thought that it will be a wipeout as far as the first 6 months go. But as we stand today, things look actually much brighter. So we want to hear from you. So how are things?
So Jasmine, the figures that have come out of your survey, they are more or less accurate. While the first quarter was a washout, second quarter across the building, not only across the construction industry, I think the performance has improved, right? When you put the average figure of labor, yes, 100% sites have opened or are operational. But labor, I would still kind of disagree with you. It's not at 87-90%. It's between 75 to 80%. Now that maybe your survey was done pre-Diwali, at Diwali time, the labor goes away. Then there is the impact on account of Chhath Puja. So at the moment, I would feel we are at about 80%. One key aspect which you may have alluded to but have not directly addressed, which is impacting performance on site or operations, is the supply chain. Supply chain is yet not, if labor is up to about 80%, if I was to give a kind of percentage figure as to how well the supply chain is operating in comparison to COVID time, I would say it's at about 50%. One is COVID, but the other things are that with the incidence of COVID increasing in the past month or so in some states, with border controls and so on and so forth, supply chain has actually the performance on the supply chain side has actually regressed in the last month and a half. In addition to that, what we are seeing now in the northern states of Haryana, Punjab, on account of the agitation by the farmers, that is also badly impacting the supply chain. In fact, on a project, the largest project that my company is doing, that Ahluwalia Contracts is doing, is the AIIMS in Jammu. We are unable to get steel and cement to the site. Whereas the labor force is fully mobilized there, but these key component materials we are unable to get. So these impacts are still there. However, I feel that H2, the Q3 and Q4, definitely the performance would further go up. These are aberrations, I think. But the government needs to look at, needs to be focused on the supply chain, one. Second thing is that, as you rightly pointed out, most of the cost up until now, be it on account of increase in the cost of labor or increased cost on account of reduced productivity, on account of COVID protocols, COVID prevention protocols, these up until now have been borne by the construction companies, right? If I was to take our example, while most of our clients have said that they will consider it, once we are able to quantify or put a figure on account of reduced productivity or on account of increased infrastructure or these protocols that I'm talking about. But as I said, we are bearing this cost till now. So that's something that needs to be looked at. As regards the relief given by the government in the Atmanirbhar scheme, that relief up until now has been announced only by the central government. That is yet to percolate down to the state government projects. While we are hopeful that this will happen, but there is no announcement as yet. We have taken it up with our various clients in various states in the country. And while our contacts when we talk to the nodal agencies of the government, central government, that is like NBCC, CPWD, HSCC, EIL, while they tell us that they are working out the impact and these relief packages, but they are even on the central government side. These are the performance bonds have been reduced, but retention is yet not been fully released to the construction agencies. Right. So this is where we are. And another thing that I see as an impact of COVID is that while the order pipeline has increased definitely, which your survey also shows, but there is a knee-jerk reaction by contracting agencies in terms of the way they are bidding. I think it is they want to stock up. There is a degree of uncertainty, as Naresh mentioned. So there are some abnormally low bids which are coming in, which does not augur well for the industry in the short term.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I've covered most of the points. So
yeah, no. So actually, sir, one of the things which you mentioned that the Atmanirbhar package, this is not really percolated down to the states. In fact, I also wanted to touch upon that, and I wanted to ask you that is it that it's in none of the states it's got implemented, or we are seeing that maybe some states have implemented it in bits and parts. Or is it like there isn't anything over there at all?
No, when we talk to the various project management arms of state governments, they say that yes, our governments have not announced this or yet not discussed on this. So while they are keen, the project management arms of the various state PWDs are keen to look at these measures, but they are awaiting direction on this from the various state governments.
Okay. So it would probably take some time before which they would probably implement these schemes.
Yes, that is one. And another thing is, as you also mentioned, the state governments, obviously the budgets being constrained, a lot of state governments, there are elections which are perpetually happening every 2 or 3 months. That disrupts the flow, plus treasury management, whatever the various governments are doing, it's all going towards meeting the COVID expenditure on account of COVID. So yes, while there is a focus and there are large numbers of projects announced by the central government, but state government, yes, the activity and release of funds at the moment, even in normal course, is slow.
Okay. All right, sir. So you also mentioned about the cost of labor and the productivity is lower, and the protocols and all, there is a cost around it which has to be borne by the companies only. So and so even in our slides, so we sort of also mentioned that where we are seeing the revenues, in terms of achievability of the revenue for FY21 and the impact on the profitability. So in general, I mean, on a very broad basis, we want to understand from you that what kind of impact this can have on the profitability of the companies in the sector, the additional cost and the lower revenues. So, one, to what extent can the revenue get impacted in FY21, and to what extent the profitability can get impacted?
Without jumping to the profitability of the companies, let me first give you an idea as to the various costs, how they're going up. Labor, for instance, if you factor in the cost of getting the labor back to construction sites, the reduced productivity of the labor, right? And also because it is in short supply, rates of labor are going up. So I feel that labor costs are going up by 20 to 25%,
Okay.
right? So if labor as a percentage of, just to give you an idea, put things in context, if the labor was about 20% of the overall revenue, it is going up to now about 25%.
Okay.
So that's a key impact. Secondly, I would appreciate if CARE also does, as a follow-up, you do a survey on how the cost of material is going up too. If you look at steel, in the last 2 months, the cost, 2 to 3 months, the cost of steel has gone up from about 36,000 rupees to about 45,000 rupees a ton. I'm talking about reinforcement steel. And obviously there is an impact on other kinds of steel, similar impact. So this is a huge impact. The cost of cement.
Even cement, I would think. Yeah.
Sorry, come again?
Even cement, I think.
Yes, even cement. Though not as much, but yes, cement prices have also increased. So what we are seeing is, by and large, there is an impact even on other construction materials of about 5 to 10%. I would like to feel that with government's involvement, this would come down to more regular levels, but the government needs to be focused on this. I think this is knee-jerk again. And as there is a focus on increasing productivity or the operationalizing the sites, I think the construction material suppliers are trying to, in some cases, even cartelize, right? So this is an area which, if not addressed, will have a huge impact on the profitability of the companies.
Right, sir. Right. And sir, then, so going to the order book, I mean, we talked about the new orders coming in the road segment. But say in the building construction segment, sir, how is the order flow in the first half of the current year? And where, I mean, are there any specific states where more orders are coming, or any specific departments? In general, I mean, what is the kind of momentum that we are seeing in the order flow, and which pockets particularly are they coming from in the building construction segment particularly? So
in the building construction segment, one sees a lot of activity in the healthcare sector for obvious reasons. Social infrastructure is being ramped up by the government, the central government, that is. So there is activity on the education side, school sides, IIMs, IITs, so on and so forth. So the private real estate, which has been an integral part of the building industry, continues to be in coma. Though the fears that commercial real estate will come down because work from home will catch up or will continue to be there, I think those fears have been largely unfounded. Because one does see with the Blackstones of this world and the Brookfield of this world, they have clearly realized, and they've continued to pick up assets because they realize that work from home, I think the fatigue is going to set in. Once the COVID levels come down, I think we're going to see people going back to offices. So we see some activity on the commercial side, but residential on the private sector side continues to be in coma. So this is where we are on the building sector. But again, coming back to states, we only see activity in some states, like say Uttar Pradesh or Telangana, for that matter. But most of the states continue to grapple with the COVID-related issues. So activities are. So what we are seeing in the order pipeline is mostly being driven by the center. Okay. No, so even in education, I would think that, perhaps the capex would sort of come to a halt as of now because, obviously because of some financial issues also that they may be facing on account of, inflow of funds or fees for that matter coming in. And then, for the time being, there is, students are, studying from home only. So all those things are there. So for the time being, maybe there will be some
capex curtailment in that segment as well?
We saw that, Jasmine, in the first quarter, but second quarter there has been a bit of improvement. And as I just talked about the commercial real estate side, we're seeing that by and large, both private sector players and the government also is realizing that ultimately the institutions will open and the students will have to come back to the institutions. So yes, there has been that increase is not as much as in healthcare, but by and large, say our private sector clients like Times of India, I'm talking about education or Amity, I think the last month, 1 month or so, the action is picked up again.
Okay, great. And sir, what about the EOTs coming through for your segment in the various projects? Because there are, of course, delays have happened in the projects. While we feel that they will come through, has it actually been, on the ground? Have we seen those EOTs coming through from the authorities? And so if so, then to what extent? I mean, what is the time of extension that has come?
Yeah, so most of our clients have accepted a 6-month increase in the timeline. That has been sort of a blanket follow up that most of the clients have done after the central government passed that order. The EOTs per se have not been sanctioned, but the milestones have been shifted. These days, most of the projects, what they do is that there are milestones. The full life cycle of a project has about 6-7 milestones, and payments are also linked to milestones being achieved. Those milestones have been shifted, but the full EOTs, I would say, if I was to take our company, on roughly 50% of the projects, the EOTs have been done. Rest are still under process.
Okay. But these would be more or less a 6-month kind of extension that would come through.
No. It'll have to be far more than 6 months. If you see, COVID started in February, late February, or lockdown started in March, right? We are already more than 6 months into COVID, and depending on where you are, there has been a second wave, there has been a third wave. So it's not that 6-month extension will take care of the impact of COVID. The extensions will have to be far more because we don't see this going away for the next 4, 5, 6 months. Even if we are optimistic, vaccine will come in, then vaccination will happen, supply chains will have to be seen, logistics will have to be seen. So I think it'll take another 6 months, and then for the impact to totally go away will take a few more months. So I think the government will have to look at extension timelines beyond a year or so, more than a year.
Yeah, but while that may come at a later stage, but what we are hearing from the various companies as of now is a 6-month blanket. So, I mean, that's what is probably they are starting off with a 6-month, and then as time progresses and the impact becomes more tangible, then maybe it will get extended beyond that as well. But as of now, what we hear is a 6-month kind of thing.
Yeah, at the moment 6 months, yes. But as I mentioned about the expenses on account of COVID, loss of productivity, you're right. When these things become more tangible, when they can be quantified. So yes, right. We expect all our clients to consider that.
Right. So then one, last thing before we maybe open the Q&A to the audience. Sir, in terms of your experience on the data realizations and retention money releases and are the monthly billings also happening? So how, because so you would have seen that we talked about the liquidity. So there's payment. We are seeing payments are coming. It of course depends on which counterparties you are exposed to. And also because probably the level of activity was little lower in the first 6 months, so the billing was lower, but the payments kept coming in. That led to little bit better liquidity, so to say. But now the level of activity is again increasing. But is it that you are seeing in data realizations there could be some issues from some pockets, some states, or maybe some departments. Is that happening, or how is the experience in general?
Yes, that is the only area of your survey that I kind of slightly disagree with. The data position is, debtors are still high, the data levels are still high. While yes, there was a partial improvement in the first quarter when work was not done, there was no work on the ground. But especially on the private sector side, the clients are badly hit, and we have not seen much improvement there, right? And this is, we hope that in Q3 and Q4 this situation will improve, right? And what we are also seeing, I mentioned earlier about the state governments, because of the cash crunch that they are facing or having to utilize whatever monies they have for COVID management or expenses related to COVID management. We're seeing some stress there in our projects in a few of the states. The improvement has been on the central government projects.
Yeah, there definitely. So we are seeing an improvement, and also because there are milestone-based, so from a shift from milestone to monthly payments, and also there's a release of retention money that we've seen in many players, and now even in the subsequent billing, the retention money is not getting deducted. So so some of those measures have led to improvement for some of the players, but like I said, that it all depends on what counterparties you are exposed to. So
not only that, Jasmine, what all of us have to realize is at the end of the day, the economy is contracting, right? And the government, rightly so, continues to follow certain socialistic norms. So the true impact or the full impact, we will only be aware at the end of this financial year. I think we have to be conservative. We can't throw caution to the wind. If people are saying that the data position is improving, or even on central government projects, the money will continue to flow, all I can say is we have to be conservative.
Right. Right, sir. Thank you. I mean, that's very, very insightful, very helpful. But we will also take a few questions, sir, from the audience. Maybe they'll have some questions for you.
Okay.
Naresh, Naresh, can we see if there are some questions from the audience for Shobhit, sir?
I think so some of the questions that they have posted have already been answered in terms of increase in material prices with respect to steel and cement. We have already touched upon, and in terms of working capital intensity. One more question that has come in was how is your experience in terms of arbitration claims? I mean, has these been realized a bit faster as compared to the pre-COVID level, and how has been the status of those?
On the contrary, the entire legal system is slowed down, and arbitration is a key part of the legal system. A lot of arbitrators are people who are more than 60 years of age. So they've been very chary of holding physical arbitrations. Though arbitrations have happened as using video conferencing, but it's not been the same. So I would say the last 6 months, the entire process has slowed down.
Right. And sir, there's one more question. I think we have partially touched it upon. It was regarding the working capital intensity and how you see it in the later part of the year in H2, when the execution will also pick up, and there is a bit of semblance in terms of increase in material prices. Labor cost, as you said, has increased. So how will the working capital intensity be in the balance part of the year?
So I did mention that we have to be cautious. We would need the government's help, and not only the central government, but also the various state governments, wherein all the measures that they have announced as a part of the Atmanirbhar package, they would have to continue to follow up to see that the relief, it percolates down and the relief is passed on to the contractors and the entire supply chain.
Right. Sir, tell me on the sorry, Naresh, sir, on the lending scenario, sir, tell me that how is the level of the level of comfort that the lenders have on the sector as of now, because we are seeing such a large order pipeline coming in, which would definitely require increase in the non-fund based limits and maybe fund based limits also. So are there enhancements which are coming through from the lender side? What's the experience with the lenders?
So as far as we are concerned, as you guys know, we are a zero debt company. So our banks are supporting us in terms of basically what we require is support on the bank guarantee sides and so on. So, and letter of credits. So that support we are getting, but again, banks are being very cautious, right? And rightly so. So, that is another issue which has to be addressed in the second part of the financial year. Or while all of us expect that Q4, all of us are going to do very well, and traditionally also Q4 is the highest achieving quarter in a financial year, and all of us hope to make up some of the losses of the earlier quarters. But banks are being cautious. It all depends. They're weighing their options very carefully. It all depends on how strong the balance sheets of the companies are.
Right.
That's another thing which I think which a lot of construction companies are not realizing. I would stick my neck out and say that. That's also a part of the knee-jerk reactions. What they are not factoring in that maybe the prices of material will not come down. Another thing which has happened, which is affecting us, is that the various manufacturers or construction material manufacturers, we run on a 30 to 60 day credit, right? That's how the construction cash flows are structured. This industry is based on credit, which is passed on to us by our suppliers, right? In turn, we pass that on to the client, because whatever billing is done, we are paid in a month. Whatever billing is done over a month, we prepare the bill in the next month, 10-15 days, and the client takes about 15 to 20 days to check it and pay. So that's how the equilibrium is maintained. When we get a 60-day credit from our suppliers, that seems to have gone out of the window. Some of the major steel suppliers or cement suppliers, aluminium, glass, for instance, they are either taking LCs or they are taking payments upfront. Now, this is another thing which neither the clients are realizing nor a lot of construction companies are realizing. So going forward, as the pace picks up, there may be a cash flow mismatch.
Okay. So then, that should actually show up in the fund-based utilization.
So it will now. It will now. If you were to do a survey now or in the third quarter, you will see it will show up.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
No, but have these change in terms come now, sir? Or they have been affected in the early part of the year also?
No. Early part of the year, there was no work. As it is, even the manufacturing, there was no manufacturing also. So the entire ecosystem, as it is being galvanized into motion or action, there is knee-jerk reaction happening at all levels, be it at the level of the contracting companies or the manufacturers, so to say. Because, you can't really blame anyone, because everybody is trying to find their feet now post-COVID. Everybody wants to reduce their exposure. They want to be they don't want to have bad debt, so on and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is the equilibrium is yet not been found in the ecosystem.
Right.
Okay, sir. There's one last question, a small question. One of the attendees have asked, in terms of site supervision. I mean, some of the site visits in terms of from supervisors would have been postponed or would have shifted to video conferencing. So has that materially resulted into reduction in travel cost?
Look, what I'd like to say, I can't comment on other construction companies. As far as we are concerned, our supervisory staff, they've actually been rock stars. They've been at the forefront combating the impact of COVID. they've been, even through the lockdown, they've been at the site, at the ground level. They've been taking care of the labor, even in Q1 when there was not much activity. Q2, to all of them have been on site. So we are fully, so there has been, our people are at the ground level. And in terms of, specifically if somebody is asking about costs, there has been some impact in the first quarter, but I think now our people are, with air travel having opened, our senior supervisory staff is moving, and that movement is back to pre-COVID levels.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thanks a lot, sir, for being with us in this webinar, sir.
Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Naresh. Thank you for having me. And
thank you
it's been insightful.
To all the participants for taking their time out and being part of this Care Ratings webinar. We hope the discussion was insightful and look forward to your participation in our future webinars also. For any further queries, feedback or suggestion, please respond in the feedback mail which you will be receiving soon. Goodbye for now and take care. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.